May 28, 2026. I'm Ed Evans, and this is Climate Damage. As you'll notice, I don't have many visitors, but when you talk about climate damage and the stuff that I entertain here, you will know why I don't have many visitors, although I've had over 300 people subscribe, I believe. In any case, I'm here for public education, and by that, I mean not teaching in a classroom. I've pulled that gig off for about 10 years, and I learned a few things about it. One thing I learned about is you need comprehensible input. You need to be able to explain your subject clearly so that your audience can receive the information, interpret it, and retransmit it. Once your audience can retransmit your information, you know you're getting through. So keep it simple, silly. Any case, bumper stickers are a good way to go. I have been using bumper stickers since the 70s. Of course, back then, my big interest was biodiversity, still is. And was I aware of the new climate change because of global warming? Yes, I was. Not because I'm a special intellect or anything or a scientist, but because I grew up in Los Angeles County. And back then in the 50s and the early 60s, we didn't have catalytic converters on our cars. And certain chemicals weren't taken out of fossil fuels, gasoline. So we had smog in Los Angeles County. And because they say the Los Angeles Basin, it is like a wash basin, except for the Pacific Ocean. There are mountains surrounding Los Angeles County. And what happens is when all those cars get out on the highway, on the freeway, the exhaust would come out and create smog. As a result, say as a 6-year-old, 7, 10-year-old boy, my summers were laced with smog. My peers were the same thing. Our eyes burned, our lungs burned. There was no getting around it. If you went outside, you got the best of it. In the morning, skies were clear. By 10 a.m., you could see the orange smog, the brown cloud moving around the basin through the San Gabriel Hills and covering the entire basin. And if you're my age and you were around in those days, you know exactly what I'm talking about. In the middle of July, if you went to the field and wanted to play baseball, well, you played baseball with burning eyes and burning lungs. So I was familiar with smog. Back then, the conversation was with my friends, especially one, where does all that smog come from? Is it coming from the pipes of the cars? Where does the smoke go when we burn fires? So those are questions that I grew up with, not because I have a special intellect, but they were literally a burning question. Finally, California got a handle on the smog. However, it's still not perfect. In any case, I'm here for public education. And that was my introduction to smog and atmospheric science. Global warming, yes, global warming. No global warming without greenhouse gases, or no global cooling with or without greenhouse gases. Global cooling caused by fewer greenhouse gas less density in the atmosphere for greenhouse gases, or the Milankovitch cycle. That's the cycle of the sun, the earth and the sun. And the earth goes away from the sun for thousands of years, and the farther it gets away, the more it cools off. As it reapproaches the earth, as the earth reapproaches the sun, it gets warmer in its circular orbit. In any case, you have to look it up, Google it. You'll find it on YouTube or Wikipedia. Milankovitch cycles, greenhouse gases. This is about the gases. We can't do anything about the Milankovitch cycle. Currently, we're melting glaciers and ice rapidly. All right. So how do we get the message to people? Because they're definitely in denial. They got these words they use to call people who follow the science, follow the history. Best way to go about increasing climate literacy, incidentally, is begin with the history. Wikipedia is a great place to go. Look up climate science history or other terms, keywords. All right. Google forest fires increase. Forest fires are increasing today. Surface of the earth is drier generally, not everywhere, but California, the US, has a drought going on. I'm on the East Coast and the drought is very, very real. As the ground dries out, it becomes hydrophobic, I think the term is in soil science. And so the ground becomes harder, the rain hits and rolls off. It doesn't become absorbed the way it would be absorbed if it rained, say, a couple hours a day for once a week, whatever. In any case, when we have rain now, it's going to roll off the forest and that because everywhere we go out there, the ground is hard. It's not absorbing what it could. Google atmospheric rivers increasing. That's where the rain comes and it just pours like it's coming out of the sky as a river. Comprehensible input. Okay, I have a whole bunch of atmospheric rivers. And obviously, droughts are going to increase. Another bumper sticker. No, I don't have all these on my vehicles. I had a couple trucks and a van, and those were full of this stuff. Now I'm down to one car. Get good gas mileage. No, it's not electric, but I'm not going anywhere anyway. This is my favorite. This is my favorite. Every 10-year-old, every 12-year-old should know of this man. J.F. Black, James F. Black, Exxon Science Advisor, 1978. This man should be taught in public schools his history at Exxon as a science advisor. Why? Because he informed Exxon about what was coming. And they needed to do something, and they had a 5 to 10-year window to do something. Note the date on this in 1978. Well, he also warned them in 1977. Fossil fuel industry had warning back in the 50s, believe it or not. Smoke and Fumes Committee, Los Angeles, had a meeting about the smog. What could they do about the smog? Well, by the time James F. Black came along with Exxon and did science, actually Exxon was on the cutting edge of science, climate science, with their own ship. Well, they had been warned. James Hansen, 1988, 10 years after 1978 then. Hansen warned the Congress. Congress ignored him. Today we have atmospheric rivers. We have people starving. Ooh, where'd that come from? This is really important. Arctic sea ice disappearing. That's important because what happens in the Arctic does not stay in the Arctic. The Earth is literally becoming darker from space. Why should anyone care? It just means the dark bodies absorb more heat. Dark bodies absorb more heat. Okay, this is a good one. I like this one. Yes, it's on my vehicles. Take pictures and Google climate deception. Share. Okay, take pictures, share. Google climate deception. Go down the page. Learn about the role of Exxon and other fossil fuel corporations in climate deception. There's a big phrase out there called the tobacco strategy. Excuse me. My mornings are like this. I'm not sure why. Anyway, Google climate deception. Let's see if I have anything else in here for this morning. And of course, here's an old favorite. NASA Climate Kids is a good one. Now, what do you do with an adult? Let's say somebody who's very dogmatic, somebody who says, this is the way it is and it is no other way. It can't be any other way. There's no room for science in my life, or science is bunk. Vaccination is bunk, okay? Well, there's nothing you can really do with them other than, or help enlighten them, other than present the facts in a clear and comprehensible manner. Keep it simple. We call it comprehensible input if you want to help people with their climate literacy. Now, Climate Kids gets a bit complicated. It really does. It's at NASA Climate Kids, unless, of course, our illustrious leader, President Trump, the anti-science guy, not unlike Hitler and Stalin, who were anti-science, and the other right-wingers out there, the lead countries, seem to be anti-science, except for in China. China is going bonkers with fossil fuel deletion from its economy, going big on solar and wind. In any case, Climate Kids, you should let everybody know. If you have trouble with the content, tell yourself this. Just pretend as if it's real. Okay, I know in English literature classes, students learn to invoke a willing suspense of disbelief. It just means turn off your disbelief to get through this story. I am a science fiction fan. So I just turn off my disbelief to follow the story. If you find a place in NASA Climate Kids, and if you have any kids in the house, just tell them to turn off their disbelief to get through this story of climate change. Why does the planet warm? Why does it cool? Greenhouse gases and the Milankovitch cycle. All right. That's a favorite. See if I have anything else here to share today. This kind of complicated. Google Copernican climate change, Copernicus climate change. That's for the heavy-duty deniers. They say, well, that science stuff, who believes that? That's communism. Well, actually, the Europeans believe it, okay? And that's where the Copernicus science guys are at, and they follow climate science. So NASA, NOAA, British Royal Society, Swedish Royal Society, I could go on, you know. And all these, it's usually universities of note, large universities with big, sophisticated science departments will have climate people aboard, people that would know what's going on. And those are good places for people to go to learn about climate science, and also places to look for other references. Do go to Google, put Google to work. This is, all those deniers out there, it's really simple. This is NASA. You know, that's like mom and pop, apple pie, the American flag, NASA, walking on the moon. These guys have climate evidence, unless Trump has destroyed it by now. I know he's destroying parts of NOAA, National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, but parts of NASA are still there. They fired some of the employees. Some of those employees started their own science website. I believe it's called climate.us or climatechange.us. Actually have a hat with that on it. I haven't seen it lately. In any case, that's about all I have for today. Arctic sea ice disappearing, remember? As the Arctic sea ice disappears, the ocean becomes darker, there's less reflection, and the less reflection, the warmer the planet becomes because the ocean's becoming warmer. As the ocean becomes warmer, the atmosphere becomes warmer. Remember, the darker the Earth gets, the warmer it gets. And it's getting dark now because glaciers, sea ice, snow melts sooner. This is one reason we're having droughts because, like in the Sierra Mountains, where California gets its water part of the year, it relies on that melting ice from the snow in the mountains. Well, there's not as much snow now, and it melts too soon, too fast. Same's going on in other parts of the world. Himalayas, terrible, terrible thing. People are going to starve because they won't have water. Arctic sea ice disappearing. I'm Ed Evans, and I'm going to bow out. Sorry about the sniffling. I don't know why it happens. And leave comments. I noticed some comments. It's rare I get comments, but when I do, I appreciate it. As long as it's informed and considered. Informed and considered. How do I stop this? Good day. Good luck. Do something to work on climate literacy, especially with kids. They got to live on this planet much longer than we will.